Muito bom dia. É uma grande alegria ter todas e todos vocês aqui conosco hoje, celebrando o trabalho de Joseph Koudelka, que temos a grande honra de apresentar com esta exposição que reúne três dos seus projetos mais significativos e emblemáticos. E é uma grande honra estarmos aqui. Eu sou o João Fernandes, diretor artístico do Instituto Moreira Salves, e estarmos aqui hoje com Joseph Koudelka, a quem agradecemos a extraordinária generosidade que teve connosco desde que manifestámos a nossa intenção de apresentar estas séries do seu trabalho no Brasil, e com a Dorita Arazim, que vai conduzir esta conversa com o Joseph. Neste momento eu gostava também de vos transmitir o nosso especial reconhecimento aos colegas que nos ajudaram a construir esta exposição. Nomeadamente ao Jonathan Moore, que se encontra por aí, que é um dos representantes e fundadores da Fundação Joseph Koudelka, e ao Tomás Pospietz, que é o curador da área de fotografia do Museu de Artes Decorativas de Praga, de onde estas imagens que apresentamos vieram e onde se encontram lá protegidas e salvaguardadas. Joseph Koudelka é um nome cujo trabalho o tornou lendário na história da fotografia. E é alguém que, a partir de um acontecimento que ele presenciou na sua vida e compartilhou com o mundo, a invasão russa de Praga em 68, se dedicou a um exílio interior, de que a série Exílios, nesta exposição, é um documento particularmente emocionante. Ele já tinha encontrado no mundo e na vida um povo em exílio nómada permanente, esse povo cigano, que também existe no Brasil, e esta exposição é também um início de um trabalho em busca desse povo, que fará parte, anuncio as cenas de próximos capítulos, o spoiler do dia, talvez, que mais tarde será objeto também do nosso trabalho posterior aqui no Instituto Moreira Salles, em outras exposições que aqui apresentaremos. Mas Koudelka desenvolveu sempre uma extraordinária empatia nesse seu exílio interior, com os outros, com as pessoas, as figuras, as situações, os lugares que encontrou. É essa empatia extraordinária que constrói um olhar com uma poética muito singular, com a qual ele ampliou a possibilidade da nossa empatia com o mundo e com a vida também. Dorita Arazim é uma jornalista brasileira, nascida na Croácia, que tem passado pelos principais meios de comunicação brasileiros, foi cofundadora da revista Piauí, foi colunista do site da nossa revista Zoom, publicou um livro bastante referencial para pensar a fotografia, O Instante Certo, e é colunista semanal no jornal O Globo. Dorita vai fazer a sua apresentação em português. Na conversa, ela irá falar em inglês com o Joseph Koudelka, facilitando assim a sua compreensão dessa mesma conversa. Nós temos uma possibilidade de vocês também participarem na conversa através de perguntas que podem endereçar por escrito aos nossos assistentes de sala, às nossas assistentes de sala que se encontram por aqui. E gostava também de vos apresentar as nossas colaboradoras, as intérpretes de Libras, aqui presentes, a Rosa Santos e a Meire Cunha, que vão ajudar também outras pessoas a poderem acompanhar a conversa através da linguagem gestual. Esta conversa será gravada e estará disponibilizada no site YouTube do IMS. Há fones de interpretação simultânea no foyer, para quem queira acompanhar a conversa em inglês e necessita de recorrer a eles. E resta-me desejar uma muito boa conversa de ritmo, Thank you so much, Joseph. It's a big honor, a big pleasure, a big emotion to have you and your work here in Instituto Moreira Salles, em São Paulo, em Brasil.
Bom dia, plateia bonita. E obrigada, João Fernandes. Eu agradeço demais ao IMS, Samuel Titã, Miguel de Castilho, pelo privilégio de estar aqui ao lado de ninguém menos que Joseph Koudelka. acho que formamos uma boa dupla. Em comum, somos ambos criaturas do século XX, fomos ambos apátridas, sem passaporte, em determinada fase da vida. Os países em que nascemos não existem mais, se desdobraram e mudaram de nome. E aqui chegamos comparando nossas bengalas e muletas. As semelhanças param aí. Eu faço uso da primeira pessoa a pedido do próprio Kudelka. Ele sugeriu, mandou, ele é bem mandão, que ao invés de fazer uma apresentação convencional, biográfica e da obra dele, eu transmitisse brevemente minhas impressões da mostra. Então, fiz essas anotações e vou seguir o roteiro, antes de passar a palavra para o nosso diálogo. Eu vejo o conjunto Ciganos, Praga e Exílios como uma viagem incontornável em busca de um mesmo valor, a liberdade de ser livre. Ao lado de Cartier-Bresson e Robert Frank, Kudelka, como se sabe, integra a luminosa tríade dos maiores fotógrafos documentais do pós-guerra. Mas, enquanto emigrado suíço Robert Frank percorreu os Estados Unidos para revelar a América invisível aos americanos, conseguiu fazê-lo de forma seminal, Kudelka parece procurar a si mesmo fotografando os outros. Não vejo na sua obra a busca por um instante decisivo. Percebo em abundância uma necessidade imperiosa nele para ir além do que ele conhece de si mesmo. Também não percebi qualquer sentimentalismo nas imagens, apenas um grande sentimento. O impacto que elas geram vem da beleza crua, melancólica, visceral da vida, que Kudelka parece carregar nas costas onde quer que vá. Ciganos merece ser absorvida com vagar e longas pausas para imersão. Sem avisar, nossa estranheza ou distanciamento inicial com o tema vai se convertendo em empatia, em expectativa da próxima imagem, em familiaridade. Cada fotografia é tão recheada de camadas culturais que aprendemos a conviver com esse povo e com o novo. Entre idas e vindas, pausas e deslocamentos, a série Ciganas exigiu mais de 7 anos de dedicação do fotógrafo. Metódico, evitar, e continua evitando, ficar mais de 3 meses no mesmo lugar. Aspas dele: se fico mais tempo, me torno cego. Preferia retornar quantas vezes fosse necessário para absorver o que havia deixado escapar. Kudelka sempre foi dono absoluto de seu tempo. Domesticou-o para lhe servir, e não o contrário. Poucos viventes modernos conquistaram essa liberdade. A série Ciganos é tão definitiva que Susan Mezelas, que muitos de vocês conhecem, também teve uma mostra aqui no IMS, deixou de publicar um trabalho sobre o mesmo tema, ao qual ela se dedicara intensamente. Vendo a exposição, é fácil compreender Mezelas. As comunidades romani não sabiam, mas estavam à espera de serem vistas por esse, aspas, louco chamado Joseph, como o definiu Cartier-Bresson. Ninguém outro as verá de forma tão intensa. Ciganos e exílios se complementam, embora não sejam sequenciais. Praga 68 é o inesperado, tanto na vida como na obra de Kudelka. Exigiu improviso no fotografar, o que não combina em nada com a arte dele. Foram 7 dias e 7 noites ininterruptas de fotojornalismo na veia. Que resultaram no testamento visual definitivo da invasão da Tchecoslováquia por tropas do Pacto de Varsóvia. É certamente a obra mais conhecida dele no Brasil. Para qualquer brasileiro que já fosse adulto em 1968, a série contém um elemento de identificação instantânea. Naquele ano, enquanto o resto do mundo assistia à irrupção de uma estudantada rebelde e indomável, o Brasil do AI-5 e a Tchecoslováquia, sob tutela soviética, foram os 2 únicos países que silenciaram pela força uma geração inteira, naquele ano. O mais impactante dessa série, para mim, está no fato de Kudelka não ter retratado os invasores com ódio. Aspas dele. Não eram responsáveis pelo que faziam, referindo-se aos recrutas. Eram jovens como eu, fazíamos parte do mesmo sistema. Naquela invasão, nenhum dos lados era livre. Tem uma densidade essa frase que me comove. E quanta humanidade enrustida nesse nômade da fotografia, que à época tinha apenas 30 anos de idade, para fazer essa reflexão. Das perto de 5.000 fotos que ele fez naquela semana febril, até hoje ele prefere exibir apenas 10 delas, as únicas que considera terem valor universal absoluto. Aqui no MS estão expostas 11, um luxo. Vou gostar de saber qual delas recebeu o difícil imprimatur do mestre. Pois ele nos conta. Concluo com uma referência a Exílios, continuação natural de Ciganos, mas com um diferencial decisivo. A série é fruto de uma liberdade civil que Kudelka nunca antes havia experimentado. Já asilado político na Inglaterra, ele estava livre para se inserir ou ser engolido pela vida no Ocidente. A série Exílios demonstra que Kudelka escolheu não se inserir nem ser engolido. Saiu em busca dos refugiados, dos refugados pela sociedade, dos solitários, peregrinos, itinerantes na vida como ele. São imagens carregadas de enigmas, colhidas com ternura e tristeza. Ele encontra a linguagem certa para retratar o mais difícil, a ambiguidade de um deslocado entre procurar um chão fixo e o impulso de seguir viagem na vida. Agora, com a palavra, o cidadão errante chamado Joseph.
Here I am.
Hi.
All for you.
Good, good.
All for you. I'm not a very good speaker. I'm a photographer. And maybe for that reason I'm a photographer, that I'm not a good speaker. So I accepted this invitation, and I'm very happy to meet you, to meet this wonderful lady. And as I said, I'm not a good speaker, but I would like to answer any question which Dorit puts me.
Let's start with the one I was referencing to about Prague, which is the 11th image that you decided should be included in our show at IMS. If you regularly have only like to show 10 of your precious pictures, photographs of Prague, how come here you decided to add an 11th one? Which one is it?
Listen,
Do you remember?
I didn't understand completely. It was too long. Can you make it shorter?
You made 5,000, you shot 5,000 pictures during Prague 68. From those 5,000, you chose 10 that normally are shown in exhibits. Here in Sao Paulo at IMS, at the show everyone is seeing, we have 11 pictures of 68. Which is the additional one, and why did you decide to open up a little more?
In fact, I'm not aware of it. For me, I selected about 13 pictures, and sometimes they show 13, sometimes show less. It depends on the space. But for me, there is not one picture which is more important than other ones. For me, what was the most important that I show that, you know, the Russian soldiers, where they came there, they were the old like me. They didn't know where they were. They were completely confused. Politics, they told them, you are going to save the life, the world, and they are going to welcome you. And suddenly, nobody wanted them. Anyway, so to make it shorter, selection of us, I don't know exactly how many pictures I have taken. I can say I was very lucky that because I was using film for cinema, and I loaded it every day, cut it, and load the cameras that I could photograph. Like Doris said to you, I never was a reporter. I never saw any Paris as important or Life, important journal, and I reacted something what was happening. In my book, which is coming, my biography, there was one Magnum photographer who said that when he came there, first day like me, that he saw this man who went directly against the Russian. And all these others were hiding cameras. And he thought, and my rule was, if they were trying to chase me, take the film to run away. And people, sometimes they block to run after me. So what I want to say, the selection of this picture, now if I look at it, in the period of the time, they took a certain signification which was not exactly at that time. At that time, it was news. For my pictures were published for the first anniversary. It was not news anymore. They were published everywhere. What is interesting, that after 40 years, I did a book. There are 250 photographs, which you can see. There it's called Invasion. And, for example, I came now from the United States, and they want to publish the book again. In England, they want to publish book again. Suddenly, this picture, they took the different signification. I think they become symbol of the people fighting for freedom. And this is very universal in every country. That suddenly, big army in white, everybody was against, and we didn't like them to be there. I think my best pictures, I think my pictures are really in documentary tradition. I was not journalist, but I reacted what happened in front of me. It was my country, my problem, and for that reason, I reacted than all these reporters who came there. I think, as I said it, I consider my picture as a documentation. Still, I think there are probably these 11 or 10 pictures which are here, which go above documentation. Mm-hmm. Where it's not important who is Rus and who is Czech. Mm-hmm. And what is important, that one has a gun and the second hasn't. When Russians came, I must say, I was sorry for these soldiers. There were guys like me. What happened to them could have, what was tragedy was that what happened to them, it could happen to me too. That they woke up one night, put me in the plane, I could have been in Budapest or Bucharest with the gun. And if you are a soldier and you have a gun, if you get to this situation, you shoot or you are going to be shot. It is, soldier must do what he was asked. So I think what really important, what I feel that important in my pictures is that they become timeless. That's one.
Got it. Still on Prague, there is an episode most bewildering, I believe. 1 year after 1968, you were in London shooting a theatrical play of a Czech company. And since it was exactly the first anniversary of the invasion, all the big media, newspapers and magazines in the United States and abroad were publishing your photos, obviously under the anonymous byline Prague photographer, so as not to name you. But you were in London and you saw a group of people with a newspaper open and your photos. And the young guys were commenting among themselves, who could be PP, Prague photographer? Who is this guy? Because it was Magnum would not reveal it to protect you and your kin. And from what I read, that commentary, with you so close to those people, you were there. And at the same time you were anonymous. And that stung you.
And that?
Stung you. That
yeah.
Somehow hey, who am I? I'm this guy, and those people don't know that I went through all that. I believe that was the moment when you started beginning to think of leaving Czechoslovakia and becoming formally, officially who you are.
Okay, so simple. My pictures were for the first time published for the first anniversary. In Czech Republic, for the first time, they were published after 20 years. I'm very happy that I become known as a photographer because of Prague 68. I'm very happy I become known for something else. Because probably in Czech Republic, the system which was, I would be traitor. I would do something wrong. Yeah. So I am very happy, and I didn't mind that nobody knew who Prague photographer was. I was very happy about that.
It was a feat. You also have a vast, arresting body of work on landscapes scared by men, by mining, by heavy industry. And those series are entirely shot in panoramic format. In them, they are not shown here in Sao Paulo. It's an amazing body of work where Koudelka sees beauty in a battered planet. Please tell us why you decided to eliminate people from those series.
I never decided to eliminate people.
Not eliminate, they are present.
Yes,
Only
exactly. They are present by what they are doing. One of the last projects which I did about 4 years ago, I was invited to participate on the project in Israel. There were 10 photographers, well-known photographers, invited there, and we could choose subject. I went there first time, and immediately I saw the wall, and I couldn't forget. And I decided, if you are doing project that type, you can easily be used, certainly. Yeah. First of all, this is the group project. You know what you want to do. You don't know what the other ones, you don't know how it's going to be presented. But to make it shorter, I decided, because in this moment, I am very much interested how men influence the contemporary landscape. So I realized this is the extreme case of the destroying landscape, which is wholly landscape for most of population in the earth. I accepted to do it only when I have got guarantee that I will photograph whatever I want, of course, in the limitation of soldiers of army, what I could do, that I will publish them in the book form, because book form for photographer is important. If photographer has something to do, he must make the book. And so I put my condition. I try to eliminate all his possibilities so that I be used. My book, which maybe some of you saw, which is called War, it is not about fighting in Israel. A lot of my colleagues from Magnum, they did very important work on this. I went to Israel 7 times, and I tried to understand the country. I am a photographer. Already when I was in Czechoslovakia, when I wanted to go abroad, they tell me, you know what we are going to tell you, what you are going to see. Israel was similar. They wanted me, explain me what's happening there. I said, thank you very much. I went through it in communist Czechoslovakia. I'm the photographer, I have eyes, and I am getting to my knowledge through what I see and through meeting with the people. So after I made 4 trips to Israel, finally I signed the contract, and I am sure I can say that I was not really used, because I put the condition that I am not going to be used. My book, The Wall, is not about fighting there. These countries divided on the 2 parts. Each of this group is fighting, defending themselves. Only land, which is the Holy Land, can't defend themselves. And they are destroying it completely. And if you destroy the country, you can put it very quickly in the order. If you construct a new landscape, it's for a long time. So my book, I think, is book about the landscape. In the same time, I'm aware very much all the problems which are there, how people suffer, what's going on, but my book is not political book. It is how man is destroying this beautiful landscape.
Can you remember, sure you can, but can you tell us the full impact you felt the first time, it was leaving East Jerusalem, apparently, the first time you got to see in full blow the wall, in full shape, the impact that the war had on you on that very first day.
What
You
impact,
see,
what I saw,
what you saw,
on me.
because you define it as a cruel, beautiful. It is, the war is somehow, can be described perhaps by an engineer who has a different approach to forms. It has a beauty, a cruel beauty, very explicit.
Listen,
At first sight.
It's exactly the same case how I reacted when the Russians came here. I know that there are the problems. I know that once I have to go to Israel, I have to learn something. And I reacted the way without being on one side or other side. But without knowing, every day I spent 2 hours reading Israeli newspaper. So I was pretty well prepared, and I saw it pretty well. And so just close it. I did, in fact, now when I was in the United States, and when we are talking publisher, my publisher in England, they still want to publish the wall. Like they want to publish invasion. No, because it is not about Russians and Czech. It is not about end of communism. It is about the problem which people are facing all the time. Keep the freedom. And somebody else doesn't want to permit people to freedom else. And probably it was in the period of generals here the same.
Yeah. It's interesting for younger admirers of your work that so many works, you worked so much with such a powerful language on environment. And yet, your voice maintains a total independence far away. You've always been far away from collective protests, pro or against environment, pro or against minorities.
Well, I can tell you exactly that I'm against any destruction. I understand also very well that there is no construction without destruction. Yesterday I saw this enormous building. And I was told how many people are living there. And we discussed it. I said, can you imagine? All this came from the land. So you have to accept that there is no construction without destruction. On different levels, on my personal level too, that suddenly I came to the panoramic photography because I wanted to, and I didn't change. I'm still the man who loves people, who like to photograph them, but now I got a tool which is very useful, tool which permit me eliminate the problem which happen many photographers who stop to take photographs. Photographers has very short life as a photographer, as a creative. For me, it is about 40 years. All good photographers which I know, they are not like Tizian till the end of his life. They are the men like Cortés. He stood still in the old age, probably in my age, shot one good picture, but this is not body of the work.
Joseph, if you...
To add, go ahead.
No, please complete.
To finish with the wall, I was born behind the wall. Mm-hmm. All my life, I wanted to go on the other side. They tell us lies. I think what's happening in every country, you know, in this moment, I was told there are 30,000 miles of building the walls for different reasons. I can say I'm against any war, but Israel is only country where they built the wall not on the territory of the country. They built so just to get as much, to own something.
Very, very clear. And there is a graffiti that you photographed on the wall saying, "One wall, two prisons." Because at the end, Israel is also prisoner of its own wall. Do you agree?
Can you repeat again? I understand what you said, but...
One of your photos
yeah.
shows a graffiti.
Yes, I understand.
One wall,
prison.
Two prisons.
Yeah.
The intention of the wall might have been to disintegrate the Palestinian land and form a certain Bantustan. But
they are building the wall for different reasons. But one thing they built it also so that these two group of people don't understand each other. I came there, they gave me some young student of the photography, intelligent. Finally he emigrated from Israel, and we are very good friends. And I asked him, how many Palestinians you met? He was 28 years, and he never met one Palestinian.
That says it all. If I read you correctly, Joseph, the closest you came to having a long-lasting kind of family was with Magnum Agency.
Was it Magnum family?
Yes. I mean, it's people like your friends at Magnum, where you were housed, slept on the floor whenever you were around, and sort of adopted you as an errant member of the family.
Listen,
isn't that the
I left
closest?
Czechoslovakia. I was suddenly in the world which I didn't know anything about. I couldn't speak the languages, and suddenly I become member group of photographers who were one photographers in the world. And it happened to me, it helped me enormously. Even that people were not afraid. If I need a place to sleep, to give me key. And also, it made a possibility. If you are a stranger, you have certain right to be different. And to be different is very dangerous for surrounding where you exist. They don't like it. They would like to put you in the box. And if you don't fit, they will do all the... But it was the same when I lived in Czechoslovakia. In Czechoslovakia, I was theater photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew that I can photograph something like invasion.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't get back to Czechoslovakia because if I get back, they would discover who is this PP, that is me, I will go to prison. And I don't have courage to go to prison because I know in prison they can change you. Mm-hmm. They have different methods how to change you. And I don't want to take the risk. So I decided to stay away. But then I realized that I'm in the same danger to lose my freedom. Why? Because in Czechoslovakia, there were not political freedom. There were not freedom to make the money. What happened that I become engineer because I knew that even that I am not going to be paid like the man who is sweeping the floor, that I want to be here. What happened, interesting, after communism was finished, that a lot of the people, including the wonderful people in ecologist movement, suddenly they discovered they can make the money. So what was, in fact, it was very important, more dangerous when I left Czechoslovakia to keep this freedom.
Beautiful. Joseph, are you sorry that the world as we know it is disappearing?
Sorry, what?
Our world. World.
Yeah.
How do you navigate in the digital age? Do you have any cell phones? Do you use any modern ways of communication?
Listen, I got cell phones when I was 80 years old. Yeah. And it is very useful. I came here and I switch off the phone. I don't want anybody to know that I'm here. I want to be in the piece. Yeah. I'm doing this all the time. It's very useful for me. Like, I don't know type on the computer. I got the title official of the Chevaliers are in the art and literature. I don't write French. But it helped me because I don't need to answer telephones. I don't need to answer the letters.
That's correct. You also never worked on assignment for specific publications, and you never did advertising.
You never?
Did advertising work?
Well,
Paid for
listen. I really can say that I'm a sort of fanatic of photography or whatever you think, but I live in this world. I fell in love in the woman. We were expecting baby, and I knew that I have to give the money for at least 1 year that she doesn't need to worry. So it was the only assignment which I accepted since I left Czechoslovakia.
That's good.
And I think I was right. You know, there were other photographer, Cartier-Bresson, who in the past, when people were talking about that they need to make the money, he said, I don't want to hear anything about your children. I'm interested in the photography. Finally, he adopted the little girl, and he changed completely. And I have the rules, but I'm willing to change if I really have to.
Good. Good. We start receiving questions from the audience, and the first to refer, if you could tell us what kind of life you were leading when you worked on exiles. How was your daily life, and where did you look for?
Listen, I was immigrant. I was stateless like you, and there were many people immigrant and stateless. I was extremely lucky that because Magnum made the distribution of my photographs from Paris 68, I made some money. Probably with this money, if I would be a French photographer growing up in France, maybe I would be able to live 6 months. I succeed to live from it 3 years, which means I didn't go to restaurants, I didn't sleep in the hotels. If you know what you want to get, you have to create the condition that you will get it.
And how did you start your series on gypsies? Did you prepare? I understand that contrary to many photographers, you don't read and prepare a lot before going to the field. Then you add up knowledge and investigations. But how did you prepare for gypsies?
Listen, I love folk music. I love music generally, so much that if I come to somebody and they want to put in music, I said, please, can you stop it? I travel around the United States, and the man who traveled with me, when we travel, I said to him, please, I want to look, I want to see. Can we stop the music? Yeah. If you want to hear something, you have to close your eyes. If you want to see something, you might eliminate also something.
Yeah. And this, on the same line, what kind of identification you think you acquired?
I will answer this question about the gypsies because I didn't finish it. So, in early age, my father sent me to learn to play violin. Then I get to Prague, and because I love really folk music, on that level that if people ask me who I am, I'm saying I don't know who I am now, but I know where I come from. Mm-hmm. And the place where I come from is not the village where I was born, not the village where I grew up. It's about 50 kilometers more on the south, because I identify completely with the music. Because for me, these songs, this music, must come from the same earth, like I am made from the same earth. So I identify myself with the place where I really love the music. And gypsies are extremely good musicians. I used to travel around with, when I was in the group, I learned to play bagpipes. We used to go around festivals, and I was meeting gypsy musicians. And, you know, one reason to photograph gypsies was not all the time very easy. But one of the reasons that I never stopped was, even if I wanted, that I couldn't, because when I heard somebody play the violin, I knew I have to start again.
Do you have a violin?
What?
Do you have a violin?
If I have violin?
Do you still play violin?
No, I don't play violin. I have bagpipes. Mm-hmm. Still, from time to time, I play. And I am trying to have my daughter, she has a little girl, and I'm telling her, listen, as soon as possible, teach her some instrument. I think it is so important.
Another question is regarding how you would define your photography. If you consider it a photography that that has a way of collecting awareness and of being.
I don't think this way. No. I have certain instinct, and I follow my instinct. Yeah. I am, you know, when I was in Czechoslovakia, I was photographer of theater. Mm-hmm. Then I became photographer of gypsies. Then the Russians came. I become photographer, what people are saying, this is one of the best reportages which exist. My difference is only there is the photography and there is a big spectrum people to use it. And my difference is there is some picture which bring me some emotions, and some of the pictures not. Yeah. So I think, we are talking about photojournalism. It's very early I realized that I haven't got the capacity to be a photojournalist, like most of the Magnum photographers. And I didn't want to have problem of that. Yeah. So I did something what just I felt that I should be doing, not thinking much. And I was following my instinct. Yeah. So now I left Czechoslovakia and I am a photographer of exile. Suddenly now I am become the landscape photographer. Photography has big spectrum. Yeah. I think each of us should do something what you have relationship. When we talk about photojournalism, I think it was very important in the period of the magazines. Mm-hmm. I think reporting still has enormous importance, even without magazines, but it is much more difficult, of course. Cartier-Bresson, all his pictures, best pictures, with the exception of the early one, he get from assignment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is how normally you were getting to the good pictures. Yeah. Now this possibility doesn't exist. I think the period is very difficult for photographers who would like to report something, and there's no market, they can't make the money. When I was photographing, I never photographed for money. 16 years, I was never, till my daughter supposed to be born, I never did take any job. But as Americans say, there is nothing as a free lunch. You have to pay for everything.
Another one for you, Joseph. Were you ever tempted to photograph Berlin Wall coming down? The dissolution of your prison, so to say?
I didn't understand the question.
When the Berlin Wall came down,
yeah.
It was such a major upheaval in geopolitics and social life in Eastern Europe. Were you tempted to try to photograph it, to try to get close to it and understand?
I remember very well, my contact with the wall was, I've got the exhibition in Berlin, in West Berlin, retrospective, and I saw the wall from that side. Mm-hmm. Of course, I would have loved to see the other side. When wall fell down, I would have loved to go there, but I couldn't because I was printing the book. Yeah. So, and for me it was important. When all my life I wanted to return to Czechoslovakia, which eventually I did. But I remember the day when things were happening in Czechoslovakia, when the system was falling down. I was in Hollywood. And I was listening to news. I was very frustrated because I said, fuck, you should be there. But then I said to myself, listen, if you could be there, you go there. But fact is that you can't go. So enjoy the place where you are, do what you want to do, because anyway, never in your life, you are going to live something stronger than Prague 68. I find the peace.
Another of your new friends here would like to know the importance of theater in your life, of photographing and experimenting theater.
Yeah, I can
And
answer it rather simple. I have got my first little exhibition, amateur photographs, and I studied Technical University. A friend of mine was saying, listen, he said, my uncle is working in the theater magazine and they need photographer. You are a photographer. So I went, I photographed Mother Courage by Brecht. And then suddenly, still when I was working as an engineer, I started photograph the theater. There was one new theater started, and the director, he saw my pictures in the theater magazine. And he asked me if I would like to work with them. I said, yes, but I have 3 conditions. First is that if I want, I will have access to be present in reading. Then, at least 3 times, I will need to photograph the complete play before first performance. Why I did it? There were the other condition that I'm not going to photograph it from outside. That I want to photograph it moving between the actors. To photograph the same way how I photograph in the life. And he was crazy enough. He was some sort of dictator, where every step of actor, it was. But he let me to do what I wanted. What was interesting, when I brought the pictures first time, it was from Chekhov plays, I think 3 sisters, and he looked on it and he made the comments. I hardly can recognize the actors, but I recognize the real person from Chekhov play. And there were this, when I got back to Czechoslovakia, theater started again, and there was this boy who came to me and he said, you didn't photograph the theater. You photographed the soul of the theater. So definitely I was influenced by the theater. And for me, I travel and I look on the world as a theater, but in the same, I consider myself as an actor of the theater too.
Well, what if in real life can be a big theater of which we all are only actors? So that matches very well with your approach to theater.
Just finish it. So
Yeah.
my way is photographing. You know, I left Czechoslovakia and I started travel around. And I was discovering what exists outside. But already in Czechoslovakia, I was very much interested in the music and in the folk festivities. So I moved around. But these festivities are usually happening once a year. Once a year. And that's strict rules, sometimes 300 years old. Yeah. So I knew the stage, I knew the actors, and I photographed my theater. I am working now on the book where finally I am putting all my work on the festivities together. I was thinking a lot about English title, and I realize, in fact, that the festivities happen once a year, or once is 5 years, it depends. That some people, once alive, they behave like that year. And now, probably people, if they look on my photographs, like English say, once upon the time. Does it still exist? Yes. So the title is Once.
Well, I'm afraid we are beginning to run out of time. We already passed it. And I'm delighted to know and see that you are not a grumpy photographer who really shies from being congenial. You are a great guy.
Thank you. You are a great lady. You know what is interesting? I was engineer, and I never photographed the planes. I have 3 children from 3 different mothers, but I never photographed the nude. But when I was engineer, to touch the airplanes, for me, it was the same like touch the beautiful girl.